Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about my summer TBR because it is summer, or I think it will be when this video goes up. If not, it will be like tomorrow or something. I really like to do seasonal TBRs just because I am such a mood reader. It feels like it's an achievable goal. And we like achievable goals here because they help our self-esteem. So I was able to read almost all of the books on my spring TBR except for Lancelot and The Song of Forever Rains. Those two I did not get to. I just didn't ever have the mood, and they are going to be just set aside for now. I'm going to be dividing up the books that I'm going to be planning to read by genre, so you can kind of navigate using the timestamps below. I'm going to start off with my very first sci-fi book. Actually, it's the only sci-fi book, and that is The Song of the Wild Built. This one strikes me as like wholesome, cozy sci-fi. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it's set in this world where all of the robots kind of gained self-awareness and decided to just go off and live in the forest. Then they kind of fall into memory and are almost these creatures of like folklore and tales, until one of them emerges and encounters a tea monk, which I have no idea what that means. That's just what it says on the back cover of the book, so we're going with it. So before the robots went into the forest, they made a promise, I think, to the humans that they would check in from time to time, and so the robot isn't able to return to his kind until he can tell them, like, oh, the humans are doing all right, or not. I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know that it's really short, as are a lot of the books on this list, because I feel like it's just nicer to have these like really short, compact little reads that you can kind of take on with like little trips or just cover in a weekend. So that's A Song for the Wild Built. The next book that I want to read is The Seas. And I heard about this one from Kat on Lit with Kat. And this is supposed to be set in an isolated coastal town, and it follows a girl who believes that she is a mermaid. Let's just take a moment to appreciate the cover. Okay, so very pretty cover. She believes that she's a mermaid, and I think she believes that her father is still alive because one day he disappeared into the sea and he raised her, telling her like, you're a mermaid. So that is something that she has kind of clung to. I've heard it's a bit darker, dealing with a lot of themes to do with suicide and trauma. She also gets into a relationship with a much older man. I think that he's supposed to be a veteran from Iraq. This book was originally published in the early 2000s, by the way. Again, on the sort of magical fantasy realism feeling, something that is a portal fantasy, I believe, is The Lonely Castle in the Mirror. The Lonely Castle in the Mirror. I bought this one a little while ago, and it's by a Japanese author. And I'm gonna be honest, I really don't understand what it's about. It seems to be about a number of teenagers in Tokyo, 7 of them, who wake up and find that their bedroom mirrors are shining, and they enter into another land through these mirrors and presumably they enter a lonely castle where they have sort of a mystery that unravels from there. And I think it deals with a lot of mental health stuff. I guess we're gonna find out. I'm really excited about this, and I really, really love the cover. I feel like that should get an award or something for the cutest cover ever. Up next on my list of books is Saturnalia by Stephanie Feldman. I have not seen a whole lot of people talking about this, but I'm really intrigued, again, by the cover, because the girl, to me, looks like a cross between Mona Lisa and a mandrake. So this takes place in an alternate Philadelphia during a carnival called Saturnalia. I think it's a reference to an ancient Greek like secret cult. And there's a lot of secret societies that this one girl gets caught up in, and all of their secrets. Back cover description is really vague, so I don't completely know what is all going on in this book or like what vibes I should exactly expect, but I'm kind of anticipating like secret old libraries, alchemy, and I'm hoping that I'm gonna get a similar feel to a Ninth House, maybe. But I see that the reviews are kind of like polarized. People either really love this book or they really don't like it. So I'm quite curious which end of the spectrum I'm gonna end up falling on. Another book that I'm really excited to read this summer is Nights at the Circus by Angela Carter. This one, I have heard so much about Angela Carter, and I've never, for some reason, really picked up any of her books. So my best friend just read it and she loves it. So I am going to read it as well, see what the hype's about. I get the sense that this is kind of a bit of an adventurous romp through Europe, but especially Russia during the turn of the century. It is full of enigmatic and eccentric characters that are all part of a circus. And so the book is really about this man who is a journalist, and he joins the circus because he's a little bit obsessed with an aerialist named Sophie, who is apparently half swan. And his whole goal in joining the circus is to discover if Sophie is real or if this is like a big farce, pretending that she's this oddity. So I'm quite excited about it. I really love books that are set in like Tsarist Russia, turn of the century Russia. So I think this one will be quite fun. This summer, I really want to get into a series that I feel like I'm the last person to read, and that is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. If by some chance you have not heard of this book, or you don't know, actually I don't know what it's really about, to be honest, but the gist of what I'm getting is that the 5th season takes place in another planet that is called the Stillness, and in the Stillness there are 4 seasons, I think, where each season is associated with a kind of catastrophic natural disaster, and it follows 3-ish women who live in this really harsh and kind of treacherous world. There are magic users who can mitigate the effects of these natural disasters. So I'm not totally sure if it is full of eco-fiction or if it's like post-apocalyptic. I'm kind of getting a little bit of both, but it is the kind of book that I hear everybody talking about, but I still haven't actually heard or don't understand a whole lot about what it is. But every review I hear is absolutely raving about it. And all of the people I know that read are on my back about reading it, so that's what I'm gonna do. The last fantasy on this list is The Library That Wouldn't Burn. I have DNF'd some Mark Lawrence before. I read Prince of Thorns a few years ago when I thought that I was a grimdark girly, and I discovered I am not. The book was just too dark for me, and the main character was honestly, actually, it wasn't too dark, it was that the main character's head was too gross for me to really want to be in. But I know that a lot of people really love Mark Lawrence, and this book just seems like it is something really different. The description says, a boy has lived his whole life trapped within a vast library, older than empires and larger than cities. And a girl has spent hers in a tiny settlement out on the dust where nightmares stalk and no one goes. So I just get the sense that this book is about libraries, about books and people who love books, and I think that the cover is just stunning as well. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm looking forward to giving it another shot. If you have read this book or like any other books by Mark Lawrence, do tell me which ones I should pick up and like maybe which ones should I avoid. Another book that I'm gonna read is All Is Well by Mona Awad. I love Bunny, and I want to give another magical realism kind of horror-esque book a go by her. This is about a theater director who is in the middle of directing a play of All Is Well As Ends Well by Shakespeare, and she is trying to kind of manage a lot of strife within the theater company, all the while dealing with her own chronic pain and internal kerfuffle. Among all of that, the description says that there are 3 strange benefactors who have an eerie knowledge of Miranda's past and tantalizing promise for her future. All I can think about are the 3 ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. I'm sure it's not that at all, but I am very curious who they are, what this is, and it's tagged as magical realism and horror, which I think is currently the place that I want to be, dance in this little in-between space. The horror books that I want to read. There's two that are really high on my list, and that starts with The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I have really been wanting to pick something up by this author for quite a long time, but he is an Indigenous author from the United States, and this book follows 4 Indigenous men who were on an elk hunt together like a decade before the book starts. This elk hunt went terribly wrong, and now something is chasing after them, seeking revenge. And I love that like energy where there's like this almost gothic, suspenseful, dark thing in the woods coming for you. I'm really excited to read a horror book that's been written by an Indigenous author, because I think in the last little while I've read some horror books which have a lot of tropes that are kind of racist, and it's kind of made me enjoy a lot of the books from the genre less, or made me more wary. So I think this is going to be like really refreshing. But that aside, I mean, I've heard it's just a great horror and it has really good reviews, so The Only Good Indians. Up next, I want to read A House with Good Bones by T.K. Kingfisher. This book is a pretty new release, and it's also like a southern gothic, things that are eerie, slow build of suspense. And it follows a woman named Sam Montgomery who goes home to her mom's house. Her mom lives alone, and she finds that something is just not quite right. Her mom has painted all of the walls white. There's a lot of like decluttering that's been going on, and everything, including her mother, just feels a little bit off. Oh, and I think it says that there's a bunch of vultures that are like hanging around as well. Kind of creepy. I'm excited to see what the main character unearths as she digs into what's going on with her mom and in this house. And I also see it tagged as paranormal, fantasy, horror, which we like here. I also want to read The Bandit Queens. This is another book that I have heard absolutely no bad things about. It follows Geeta, and I believe Geeta is from India. She lives in a small town where she has become kind of infamous because everybody believes that she has offed her husband. And this reputation is really working for her until people start coming to her wanting assistance killing their crappy husbands. So it sounds hilarious, and I'm really excited because I heard that has a lot more depth than just being like a bit of a dark comedy as well. So The Bandit Queens, coming to you this summer. There is one romance that I know I really need to get to, and that is The True Love Experiment. This is by Christina Loren, and it's kind of like a sequel to The Soulmate Equation, which I really loved. I thought it was very, very funny. I like the math jokes. But this one follows the sort of hilarious best friend in the first book, Fizzy. So Fizzy is a romance author who is of course going to have her socks knocked off by a guy named Connor. And Connor is a filmmaker, and he basically is going to recruit Fizzy to be on one of his like reality TV shows where she's gonna find love. You know, I wonder who that's gonna be with. But this guy is also supposed to be a single parent, and I hate children in romance books. I hate it. But the first book also had a kid, and I didn't mind it as much. So I'm hoping that I don't mind this also, because everything else about Christina Loren's books are at least entertaining, if not really great for me. So I'm gonna give it a shot. It's gonna be my like fluffy, totally feel good book, and hopefully we'll see Jess with her mathy jokes at some point as well. So that wraps up all of the books that I want to be reading this summer, guys. I'm definitely a mood reader, as I said. I am going to be reading a ton of other books, and this of course doesn't include the other books that I'm going to be doing for the Reading Around the World Challenge. I'm really excited, and I would love to hear about what you're reading during the summer. Tell me if you've read any of the books that were on this list, and thanks for watching. I will see you guys soon.